Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Unpontificated. My name is Vuyo. Mark Carney is in Ireland. He went to Ireland to see his roots, to visit the place where his great grandfather lived in excuse me, County Mayo, and he says he's also there to ratify some trade deals that Poilievre says we already have with Ireland, but he's there to do some ratification. And anyway, so he went there to Ireland, and I just was watching something on CTV, something that a commentator made, which was I don't know. Let's listen to this guy.
Earlier today, the Prime Minister visited his family's ancestral village on the Emerald Isle. Carney's grandparents lived there before immigrating to Canada in the early 1920s. All right, with more on the Prime Minister's trip and the G7, I'm joined by international affairs expert at Carleton University, Fen Hampson. Hi there, Fen. Great to see you.
Good to see you, Marcia.
In his speech in Ireland, Carney said the G7 no longer runs the world or pretends to. What does his message say to you about his view of Canada's role on the global stage?
Well, I think the message in the speech he gave in Ireland is an important one. It's that Canada is picking its team, and it's Team Europe, Marcia, not Team USA. I think the speech will go down in the history books as being quite significant in terms of Canada's new alignment. We're throwing our lot in with Europe, with a coalition of like-minded middle powers, rather than the U.S., which he called out at Davos. He didn't mention the United States by name, but when he talked about the rupture of the international order in that famous speech he gave in January at the World Economic Forum, he said the international order in terms of rules, trade, institutions is broken.
All right, whatever. We all know how Trump's going to react. Here's what bothers me. First of all, Mark Carney, you should be on Team Canada, not on Team Europe or Team USA. That's number one. Number two, why does it have to be either or? Why not both and? Why can't you be on Team USA and Team Europe? Look, I'm all for trade diversification. I think we should diversify our trade. We should not be wholly reliant on one country for our trade. I absolutely agree with what Mark Carney is doing, trying to diversify our trade. But let's not be silly. Right now, what is it? 70% of our exports go to the US. Is Mark Carney vilifying, undermining, even in this speech that he gave there in Ireland? He made fun of Donald Trump, about the key to the White House. They'll either let you in or they'll shoot you. He made fun of Donald Trump here, just like he ridiculed or at least vilified Donald Trump and that famous Davos speech that people love so much. Mark Carney is great at speeches. I mean, the bar has certainly been raised from Justin Trudeau as far as Canadian prime ministers in speech making. But my goodness, can you stop, going to places, going to China, going to Ireland, and just because you're speaking to a particular audience, you're gonna, praise that audience, lift up that audience, and denigrate the Americans, denigrate Trump. You're Team Canada. That's what you are, Mark Carney. And it's not either or. You can be both. We need this CUSMA thing to get going. Because now, what do we have? We have the Gordie Howe Bridge not open. We don't even know when it's going to open. What is it? $2 billion worth of trade, whatever, back and forth goes through the U.S. I'm not even sure what it is. I'll have to look it up and put it down, put it in the program. But I don't understand this man. I really don't. And I know people, everyone says, well, he's there in Ireland because of Brookfield. Like, oh, how is Brookfield benefiting? For me personally, I don't care if Mark Carney becomes a trillionaire while he's prime minister. I don't care. But it cannot be, but we need to see some changes. Back in the day, I think it was back in August of 25, I asked ChatGPT to grade Mark Carney. So he had been in power for 4 months, maybe long. Well, he had been elected in April 28th, so this was in August. So it was 4 months from the election that I asked, "Hey, ChatGPT, grade Mark Carney based on particular criteria as how you think Mark Carney is doing." So ChatGPT at that time, we kind of settle on these kind of criteria: trade and tariffs, diplomatic moves, legislation and domestic initiatives, and public approval. So these were kind of the criteria. There's so much you can do on grading a prime minister, on grading a country based on what the prime minister's moves. And so at the time, ChatGPT said, "Great objective measures and a letter grade it is. Here's a 4-month report card on PM Mark Carney." So April 28 to August 28, 25, using the most recent hard data available. Gave him an overall grade of a B minus. Canada's macro picture has stabilized on prices and markets. Housing supply has ticked up, and there's been one major piece of pro-productivity legislation. That was the it was C5, the cross-border, like provincial cross-border federal trade tariffs were dropped federally across provinces. Anyway, but growth is soft, unemployment is elevated, and the federal balance is trending wider while U.S. trade frictions persist. Net net, modest improvement with meaningful risks. Okay, so that's an overall grade of B minus from ChatGPT. I decided the other day, to ask ChatGPT, okay, it's now been over a year since Mark Carney took office. What grade would you give him now, given the same metrics? Is Canada better off? Remember, you're a top political analyst. So ChatGPT decided I'll grade him on the same pillars: household economy, national growth, fiscal position, and geopolitical standing. I'll use current data rather than relying on last year's snapshot. And what did ChatGPT? Thought for 19 seconds, said C plus. Oh my goodness, Mark Carney has dropped a grade. Oh, brutal. According to Chat. My judgment, Canada is not clearly better off after 1 year of Mark Carney. It is more politically stable, but economically and fiscally, the results are mixed to weak. And then individual household economy, C plus. Inflation is manageable, but it has risen. Rent is up 30.8% since April 21. Wow. And food costs still a pressure point. Growth in economy, C. Canada's economy is sluggish. Real GDP was basically flat in 26. GDP rose by 0.1 in Q1. I don't know we had a shrinking GDP last quarter, and it continued to shrink again. They're denying that it's a technical recession, but come on. It's a technical recession that we're in. Brutal. Fiscal management, whoa, D plus. That is almost like failure measures. This is his weakest area. Wait, isn't he economist extraordinaire? Bank of Canada guru, Bank of England guru, but Chat says no. The federal deficit in 2025 to February 2026 is 25.5 billion. I think that's the amount that it worsened. This means Canada's fiscal position has deteriorated, not improved. Housing C plus, political position B minus. Carney is stronger than his economic record politically. Yeah, sure. People still love him. His government has passed the One Canadian Economy Act in 2025, sure, aimed at reducing internal trade barriers and speeding major projects. Can we get those major projects sped up? Can we get them done? Stop signing MOUs. Polling still shows Liberals ahead, though recent surveys suggest approval and optimism are slipping. Indeed, if we look here on the Abacus data, we do see some slippage. Unfortunately, or fortunately, it's going to the NDP. We all know that for the Conservatives to win, we need a strong NDP. So sure, get stronger NDP. I got no problem with that. But we do see some slight slippage here. All right, what's my point? Look, um, Mark Carney traveling around, trying to get more trades. Okay, good. No problem with that. Mark Carney at home, even according to chat, and we all see it. Um, they had this was it champagne? They're sitting there at grocery stores saying they're going to lower grocery prices. Grocery prices continue to climb. Whatever they're doing is not working. And I think that's why we're seeing a little bit of a drop. Maybe Canadians are starting to wake up, but I think we're still giving him a chance. It's been over a year. How much longer? How much longer do we have to wait for this guy to get things done, to move? Another year? Okay. I mean, he's got his majority, and that's just fine. Okay. Then move. Get her done. That's what we need to see. And I still don't understand his method, the method of his madness. And maybe it's just me being naive, but I think, you know, it's to his advantage to make America a scapegoat, to use America as the reason why whatever policies he's doing isn't working. It's because of the terrorists, it's because of the terrorists, it's because of, you know, Mark Carney, it's because of Donald Trump. You know, the bridge isn't opening, that's gonna hurt us. Well, bridges opening is gonna hurt us, that's true, but why? Why can't you just be friendly? Just take the high road. I don't know. Hey, what do you guys think? You know, everywhere this guy goes on a speech, he speaks down, speaks down about the US. And he needs to stop doing that. Like if you can't, speak highly of the US, then just don't talk about them at all. Just don't mention the US. You just can't help yourself, can you, Mark? You just can't help yourself. All right, well, we'll see what happens from here. I'm pretty sure we're gonna hear from Trump, because there's so much going on. I don't know when the Gordie Howe Bridge is gonna open. I'm not hopeful that it's gonna be soon. I'm just not. But we'll see. All right, well, guys, yeah, I'd appreciate a like and subscribe if you, and certainly comments. And we'll see what happens this week. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. See you next time.